Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to The Truth, where today we're going to be talking about the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are an interesting team. They did take a small step back this year. Last year they won 7-10. This year they went 6-11. And in that case, they did move on from their head coach and got a new one. They do have a considerable amount of picks. I'll admit that, but it's just they still need a little bit more if they want to address everything. Even though they did sign players, which I'll get into in a minute, they still need more picks. Starting out though, for my pre-free agency mock draft, I guess we could say that. The Tennessee Titans go Dallas Turner, edge of Alabama. I think this is nice to pair to up that pass rush and just to better that defensive line. And then they actually get really lucky with at pick 38, Johnny Newton falling to them. So that's also another nice pickup. So your defensive line is really good. At pick 106, I took safety Malik out of Wake Forest. They do need two safeties, one for depth and one for starters. So that is something to watch out for. And this is now getting into the depth. At pick 146, I took Tanner Bortolini, offensive center out of Wisconsin. This is a 6'4", talked about him, super athletic guy. He's gonna be a nice backup center to have in the mold to maybe be something nice. Next pick, I put Christian Jones, 6'5", 305. Typical big tackle to just fill in that depth because they really do need depth at tackle. With the next pick, I chose pick 221. I chose safety out of Utah, Sione Vaki. This guy I've talked about, not too much though. 5'11", 210 with an RS score of 8.31. And then with the last two picks, I went back-to-back defensive tackles. That's just how the board fell. I took defensive tackle of James Madison, Jameer Kimura. He's a guy who is going to be that true defensive tackle for you. And then at pick 242, I picked Jalen Crumsby. But Jalen Crumsby isn't going to be your defensive tackle. He's going to be more that defensive tackle / edge role, typically that a guy plays on the interior, and then you have an outside linebacker on the outside of him. But 6'3", 301 with an RS score of 8.78. The nice thing about Jaden Crumsby, Crometti, I think that's how you say his name, a defensive tackle of Mississippi State, is he can play from 0 to outside shade of a tackle. So that's really nice. He's a very versatile guy. Nice depth. It's going to provide really nice depth for you at the defensive tackle position and the edge position. And then that's kind of it. They still would need a tackle to kind of fill in that hole. But other than that, they're sitting pretty good. So kind of getting into it, the Tennessee Titans are in a very good position. They have $52 million in cap space. So they can go splurge. They can go trade for players. They can go splurge. They can do things. And right now, the market value for players is actually kind of small. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of got a steal with a trade, and they ended up doing really well with it. Getting into some free agents, I would talk about their market value free agents, but if they don't necessarily fit the positional, the positions that left, they don't really fit those holes. So I'm not going to talk about them. 2024, all teams, all types. There we go. And first thing we're going to do is actually talk about the safety position. Because, look, if you can have a draft like they did, it'd be really nice. Of course, these are some of the guys who signed: Xavier McKinney, Darnell Savage, all of these. A couple more. Jalen Mills. Some guys to watch out for: Justin Simmons, Eddie Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Micah Hyde are some guys to look forward to. Marcus May. Those are some pretty impactful players. Keanu Neal, Terrell Edmonds are some more impactful players. I could see that happening. Adrian Amos. Like there's some guys still here in free agency who are going to find a team and going to get there for relatively cheap just because the safety market right now is at an all-time low. But let's say you did want to bring in a safety because you can go splurge and get a nice safety. Right now, Justin Simmons, he's older, but I mean, he still produces really well. I mean, you're looking at it as Justin Simmons, $11.1 million. I mean, with how much cap you have, I take that deal. And that'd be a really big addition to your defense, which is going to bring you down to $41,019,147, which is still like incredible. Like you still have a lot of cap to spend, but this would be a great pickup. 2 years probably. It's going to fill that safety you want, and then maybe you draft a safety now to kind of sit behind, learn, and become something better. And then if we scoot on up, we could look at defensive tackles, defensive ends. I do think defensive tackles are more likely just because you do have such a high pick that you can get arguably the best defensive end in the draft. Christian Wilkins, of course, and I'm surprised they didn't go to the Titans just because of how much cap they have. Fletcher Cox, of course, retired. You could go out and get Tier Tart, Al Woods, Lawrence Guy. You could go out and get some of these guys. The only problem is these are probably going to be backups for you with who's available. And they're kind of older too. But you kind of look at the tackle market right now. With these lower guys, it's not crazy. Tier Tart or John Jenkins, 3.8. Say Tier Tart you could probably get for $5 million, maybe $6 million. I mean, I don't think Tier Tart's going to really break the bank. But I mean, he'd provide some depth for you. So that's actually what I'm going to do, is go Tier Tart for depth. And I will be trying to use all the cap just because they have it available. Now, that, of course, they also might not use it. That's a very well possibility. I'd say he could go for $5 million. I wouldn't be surprised if Tier Tart went for around $5 million. I also wouldn't be surprised if it went for cheaper. It's just the high-end defensive tackles kind of just crushed everything else. Now bring you to $39,019,147. Some things we could also look at are backup centers. Getting some centers on this team. Of course, Lord Cushenberry and all that. Connor Williams is here available. But, he's probably getting starting center money. I don't know if you pay that much. I mean, you could pick up Connor Williams. Maybe you do give him a job. Maybe you have him bite it out. And then whoever loses kind of is your backup center. And then you have a really nice center core. There's some things to think about. He is young too. I think actually we'll do that just to kind of play around with that idea, because you do have the cap, $13.5 million. I'm not saying this is going to happen, just saying it's a possibility. It'd be interesting to see. So you kind of take care of Connor Williams. That's center role, minus 13.5. And the good reason to do this is because now you can trade up in the draft. You can go get, at these starter positions, you can go get more of the best defensive tackle, the best defensive end, maybe the best safety if you want to trade back into that. There are some things available. But 2, 5, 5, 19. So the cap they have left now is $25,519,147, which is still considerably a lot of cap. Scrolling back, some things you could do are tackles. You go look at the tackle market. Maybe you go left tackle. Or you could go, I think you actually need both tackles. So David Bakhtiari is here. Trent Brown out of New England. He's asking for 7.1. Honestly, with their age, I honestly don't think I think they make probably 10 right now. 10 million. It's tough to say just because they're so much older. David Bakhtiari, which also should be a nice pickup. Charles Leno. Andreas Pete, who did play left tackle last season and played guard, which provides nice depth. Trent Brown out of New England. I mean, honestly, you could sign David Bakhtiari and Trent Brown and then have kind of really nice tackle core too. Just up that room, which I think wouldn't be smart. I think would be smart. So minus 10 million, which I think is where roughly he's going to make right now, just because if we look up Tyron Smith made 6.5. With him going out, I'll say he'll make, I won't go 10 million. I'll say he'll make 6 million, just because like with age and injury, now that I think about it, 6 million sounds more about right. So I'll bring you roughly to $19,519,147. And you do take care of a tackle spot with David Bakhtiari, probably 1 or 2 year deal. And then you go to Trent Brown, who's probably going to cost you 7.1, somewhere around there. But that also takes care of your other tackle depth need, and then you could have them battle it out with their sides and see if they can win starting spots. Which, if that's the case, then you have really nice depth at those positions to protect your quarterback, your young quarterback, and you can run the ball effectively. You can do a lot of things. That's going to cost you 7.1 million, bring your total to $12,419 and 140. Oh no, sorry, $12,419,147, which isn't bad. You still have some other things like a defensive end. Kind of take a peek at those edges. Grenard, Leonard Williams, Brees Huff, Arik Armstead, who's that tackle role. There are a lot of guys, Solomon Thomas, a lot of guys who've already come off the board. Some guys to watch out for, Carl Lawson. Chase Young is on the market, which would be interesting. He's your more prototypical defensive end. Who, the thing with Chase Young is I don't know if I can pull up his size. I don't know if I can. I think he's 6'3", 6'4", around those. He's more your prototypical, older year ago ends. So I don't know if I can. I actually don't think he's going to go for 13 million. I'd be surprised if he did. I think that's high for him. But that wouldn't be a bad piece to have at depth. If you were to go to get a guy in the rotation who maybe could pop off. Because I kind of value him in the same range I value Marcus Davenport or AJ Espinosa. I value Marcus Davenport him in the same range. It's just because I don't. He hasn't had that season yet. So I do think he's going to get more of a contract like Davenport, which I think I will kind of give him that. And that will take care of the other defensive end spot for depth. And I think he'll get probably the fact that he hasn't gone yet makes me kind of think he'll probably get less. So I'll probably give him $6 million. Usually, typically, guys who haven't already gone off the board or kind of haven't left free agency yet aren't going to get as much as some other guys. But I don't really expect to make $10 million this year. Like, I don't think he's going to get an Ashawn Robinson contract just because he hasn't proven it. He's not going to get his Darius Smith, an Autry or Leonard Floor, Yutos Gross-Matos type contract. I do think he's going to have to take a pay cut necessarily for where he was and say, hey, prove to us that you're a good defensive end. So that gives them $6,419,147 in cap to play with. So you could necessarily resign a cheap safety, going back to safety because they do need depth at that position. Like I said, I don't really like to play with trades. It's just kind of, expect this team to trade if they were to do this. You could get a Micah Hyde. How much is my $3.7 million? Honestly, I think you can make a deal for around $3 million. So they kind of project him at. I don't think $3 million would be too crazy just because he's older. If you could, I know 3.7, you'd bring you around to 2. Well, right now that actually kind of works out. Maybe let's see what 3.7 gives you. That'd be 5, 14, $2,719,140. Honestly, I think you might be able to have a chance to get him around $3 million, depending on how much longer he goes. Like the longer and longer it takes for him to get on a team, the less and less the value goes down. I think it is a possibility you give him for around $3,000 or $3 million, not $3,000, which would bring your total to $3,419,140. $3,419,147. If that's the case, hey, you have a really nice safety core right now. Kind of knocking that out. Now you're going into the draft saying, okay, I need a defensive end and a defensive tackle for my holes, and then I could really just go BPA the rest of the draft or trade up. You could do a lot of different things. Or trade into next year, kind of accumulate more picks. And again, you do get a guy like Dallas Turner. I mean, honestly, you could trade up into some things and go get a top 2 receiver. There are a lot of things you could do. I mean, you could even trade and get an offensive tackle, and then with the next pick, go get defensive tackle. Let me see. Actually, I don't want to click on that. Okay. So Byron Murphy goes, Johnny Newton goes, and pick 29, which is still okay because you can go get Leonard Floyd and be in a great position. And now you have a really deep team. Some things that you're weak at. You could probably upgrade a receiver, maybe tight end. But other than that, you have a relatively deep team, and the only thing holding you back is coaching, and then those key positions and possibly quarterback, depending on how your quarterback plays. But yeah, no, that's that's their draft. Let me know what y'all think about kind of what I talked about and went over for them. Let me know. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to y'all next time.